Am I meta now? What's happening, YouTube? It's your homie S. Dot of DefTL coming back at you with another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about a few things. Of course, the main focus of this video will be the deck profile for the first place finish I was blessed to have at Pro Play Tour, Columbus, Ohio this past weekend. And before I go any further with that, shout out to George Machado, the owner and CEO of Pro Play Games. And, you know, his whole entity that he has that's coming up. I think he said he started tournaments last December and has been moving since then. They're having tournaments all over the country. They had, of course, the first one that introduced Transformers anyway at Pro Play Tour, Columbus, Ohio. They have Dallas coming up in a couple of weeks here. They have, I think it's maybe Las Vegas first, then Dallas. And Dallas will be like, you know, the first tournament of the new format with Siege 2. Like I said, the main thing I want to talk about in this video is the deck profile, and then a couple of things I want to rant about towards the end of the video. I put a timestamp because again, you guys know how I like to talk. So I put a timestamp throughout the video, depending on how long this video ends up being. But, I'm going to go from there. So yeah, George Machado, shout out to him again, you know, and all of the people that ran the event. They ran a couple of different card games from Godzilla to Naruto to... They did everything but Pokemon. Yeah, they did Dragon Ball Z, and then their biggest turnout was Yu-Gi-Oh! And Card Fight Vanguard. So they ran all of these events within the course of that weekend from Saturday to Sunday. I don't know if they did anything Friday at the Columbus Convention Center. So, yeah, so as it turned out for the Transformers TCG, we ended up having 19 people for the event. So shout out to all 19 people that ended up coming out. You know, it was only a 2-week notice before the event. You know, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, you know, at least they got it in and they did what they could. 19 people is still pretty big with the game being new, you know, any amount of people that we can get. Of course, like 4, okay, we're going to say 4 is not really that big of an event, but I mean, 19 is a pretty big turnout. So I did expect a little bit more, to be honest with you. I'm not going to front. I did expect a little bit more. I think the room for the Transformers players was capped at 50. But yeah, again, it was just the first event and only a 2-week notice. So Dallas, and I think Las Vegas is before Dallas, but I definitely expect those events to be bigger. And so what I ended up taking this past weekend was a major Shockwave. Round 1, I played against... What did I play against round? I played against a friend. Of course, that's how it goes. I mean, of course, we're only 19 people. That's how it happens. But I've been to events with over thousands of people, and 2 people that came in a car together end up getting paired against each other. So the numbers actually, I mean, of course, the numbers literally matter, you know, in terms of the math and the chances of you getting paired versus one of your friends, but it's just crazy how you can get paired versus a teammate or versus a friend. So shout out to Seth. He's one of the guys that I came with to the event, and we played a Shockwave mirror match, and I think we took it to game 3, I want to say, and it was just an interesting match of, you know, stealing each other's hands and making sure your Shockwave was in the right mode, because if you took your last card out of your hand, you want to make sure you were able to draw a card for your hand and also draw another card off the Shockwave effect to try to stay afloat and have some cards in hand. So the Shockwave mirror is very interesting. It's something I'm going to have to explore more that I haven't really tested with, and just kind of just do my own thing and just kind of react off of what, you know, the situations are on the field at the time. Round 2, I played against Brad Weaver. Shout out to Brad Weaver. And his anticipation card deck, I want to say, is based off of Joe from Wrecking Rules. Shout out to Wrecking Rule. Based off of his Joe's deck. And that insane, ridiculous, untapped, flip cards, do all this crazy stuff deck. We ended up, I think the dice roll, me and him both agreed that the dice roll had a lot to do with it. And I can't stand that. You know, it's unfortunate how it has to be like that, but I guess it is what it is. But the dice roll had a lot to do with that, and whether it was in my favor or his, you know. I'm not saying, like, you know, if I would have went first, I think game 1, I ended up losing. You know, he started out with B and he just had too much card advantage. So, like, I kind of had to turn off worrying about discarding his entire hand with Shockwave, unless I had, like, security checkpoint to really strip his hand of, you know, his upgrades and then, you know, whatever else. But, and then game 2, I ended up winning because I was able to hide Shockwave longer and get him set up, you know, faster. Or, excuse me, it gave me enough time to set Shockwave up properly. And then game 3, it was much of the same thing. He got a big attack on Shockwave the first turn and then was able to overwhelm him on the turn that he was able to attack Shockwave. The fact that he was able to untap so much and then not even actually use B's bot mode effect, but actually his alt mode effect on that turn, you know, playing cards like Start Your Engines to flip it back to alt mode to play a second action. You know, he played press the advantage, or even if he didn't, even if the B was already untapped from, you know, whatever, turbo boosters of the turn prior, you know, he would play a press the advantage and then flip B to alt mode and play another press the advantage. So that's -4 defense total whenever I flip all my cards for, you know, Shockwave. So even when I had sparring gear, you know, press the advantage. But even when I, you know, would flip my 4 cards for sparring gear, you know, I'd have like 6, 8 defense, and then, oh, -4. And then I'm only having 4 while he's having 12 or something attack, and then just kill Shockwave. And then when I'm down to red alert and skydive, at that point, I think game 1, he had me down to red alert and skydive, and I just scooped the game up. I scooped the game up due to the timer. That's one thing I actually potentially want to make a video about, because I see a lot of people, they'll still play games out when their main character is gone, and like your opponent still has all their bots and stuff like that. You're not winning that game. Oh, excuse me. I knew, when I say you, me, I knew I wasn't winning that game, and I see a lot of people doing that, and I don't think that they should, and they should be mindful of the timer. So it's actually a tactic to use, so you can use the timer to your advantage. And, you know, if you're playing that game out thinking you can still win, depending on the, you know, the board state and situation, you probably should have scooped that game up and go to game 2 to, like I said, save yourself a good bit of time and potentially push the game to a game 3, because of course you need to win game 2. So with that being said, yeah, the Shockwave deck did very well for me. I will say before I put the camera down here, I played 42 cards. Shout out to 42 cards, you know, no. But my big thing about 40 versus 42 or anything above 40 is I get that 40, you know, the math is there to open with the best hand possible to see a certain card, you know, more often than not. Over the course of 100 games, that'll matter. But this weekend, I didn't play 100 games, so it's not going to matter as much, for one thing. For two, once you draw your opening hand, your flips just skew everything for the rest of the game. Your whites that extend your flips, your whites that are on defense and on, you know, on attacking, excuse me, and you looking at the top card of your deck and drawing cards, that throws off the whole, that throws off the entire theory of, you know, needing to play 40 cards. I've played 42. I actually had a friend that played, shout out to Brian, that also came with me as well. There's an actual error on my deck list on the Vector Sigma website from the top 2 a couple of weeks ago that I split at Top Deck Games with Shockwave as well. And I played 42 there as well. And there's 44 on the deck list. So it's like a third grenade launcher and like a third of another card or whatever. And, you know, error, whatever, it happens. Things happen. But yeah, so anybody that's looked at those deck lists and saw that I played 44, it wasn't 44. Though, I mean, Brian actually saw that and played 44. And we were play testing, and somehow the conversation came up about him playing 44 cards, and he's like, yeah, this is 44. Not, when I'm like, oh. And he was still just like drawing normal and drawing well, and just like the extra 2 or the extra 4 cards, he didn't really see a difference with playing those cards. So long story short, especially with a deck like Shockwave that draws cards like it does, how it can play the top card of your deck, it's just not that big of a deal. Simple as that. And this is living proof. Like I said, you've seen me play Sentinels with 42 cards before, and that deck draws cards, you know, like with the, what's the one that draws? Sunstreaker, you know, stuff like that. But I'm getting off subject. I'm going to get back on topic and get right to the deck profile here in just a second. Before I get immediately into the deck profile, I wanted to show you all what I won. I think top 4 was split between a couple of, I think first place was 2 boxes, second place was a box and a half, or just a box, I guess, second and third, or maybe second through fourth were all a box, because I saw the way the boxes were distributed. First place was a box of Wave 1 and Wave 2, as you can see here. Second place was a box of, I want to say, Rise of the Combiners, and so was third, because I saw Cameron, shout out to Cameron and Arbitrary Hero in that Extra Life program and everything that he's doing. Very excited for the things that's becoming of that. Check out his interview with Vector Sigma, and I got to learn more about it because I haven't really been hearing about it. I kind of see glimpses of it when I do get online on the Transformers page, but shout out to him and his Extra Life program that he's running and the donations that he's getting from everybody. Very happy for him. And I hope that is a very big success for you. So I will definitely be using this box to use for sealed 100%, and this Wave 1 box I actually might just keep sealed for a while. I really don't have no reason to open it. There's nothing I need from it. Nothing I really need from this one either, but obviously this one is going to be more important because we're using this and, you know, in conjunction with Wave 4 to do the 3 and 3 packs each for sealed and go from there. So yeah, shout out to PPG for the prize support, and it's only going to get bigger and better from here. I'm super excited for Las Vegas to see what the meta is like over there. So shout out to the West Coast players, and I hope to see a lot of you guys be able to make it there. PPG runs very solid, smooth events. They did their entire Yu-Gi-Oh event, 280 people in one day. So like there are regionals that happen in one day and they take till 10, 11, 12 o'clock, which is insane sometimes. But their event ran 280 people, and like how many ever rounds of Swiss, like 7 or so, probably more than that rounds of Swiss. Plus they played out top 16 all the way to the finals and for a winner. So all that in one day is actually insane. So you can tell our 19-person event definitely ran very smooth. I don't think we had any issues or whatever. Of course, it was a lot faster to move along because, you know, there was only 19 people, but I'm sure even with 50 or 100 people, it'll run just as smooth. And they have great workers, great judges there, and overall excellent event. So on to the deck profile. All right, everybody. So on to the bots themselves. Of course, you know, I played Major Shockwave for the event. This deck was predominantly heavier blue. That was the focus of this deck, to, you know, to have some definite survival. My team ended up being Skydive from Wave 2, part of the Aerial Bot deck. Of course, Major Shockwave himself, and then Red Alert, actually. So this team ends up equaling 25 stars. You get your 6 and your 5 that I'm playing. And with Red Alert, he came up. Now, recently, you've been seeing me playing Dinobot Swoop in its place. And Dinobot Swoop is a specialist on both sides. He has the same stats as Red Alert, 3-10-2 in alt mode and then 5-10-0 in bot mode. And he's specialist in both modes. So he's able to, the most important thing was he was able to wear both sturdy armor and field communicator, you know, to buff him, you know, in his attack or defense for combat. And the reason why I wanted to play Red Alert, I seen Skylanders play Fireflight and Red Alert a couple of tournaments ago, and that kind of struck me for a while to want to play at least one range character, or if not both range characters, because I like the fact that you're able to play the range package. I love the range package just as much as him, if not more than him. That's up for debate, Scott. But yeah, so my thing with Fireflight, though, I didn't like that he had one attack and that he literally was, I get his goal is to sit there and be a meat shield and take all the hits, take at least 2 or 3 hits. If he can take, you know, at least 2 hits, he's definitely done his job to keep Shockwave alive a lot longer and give him a lot more time to set up. So that's his goal. But I do like the fact that Skydive can get some damage in early game. If I don't see those burn cards like Armed Hovercraft and Marksmanship, at least I can get even that 1 damage. Like when I go first and I attack with Skydive into Bumblebee when it's in alt mode versus the card deck, dealing that 1 damage helps a lot for the potential turn when Shockwave is loaded up and he goes swinging for 11-ish or whatever towards the B to try to kill it in 1 shot. And shout out again to George Machado. I forgot my Red Alert at home. I left characters, most of my characters at home that I didn't think I would need. I really didn't think I was going to be playtesting with more decks than the Fire Bee deck that I tested with the guys that I came with. Shout out to Will, by the way, Will for driving. Awesome guy. Will and Seth, and then Brian I went with. But yeah, I didn't bring my Red Alert because I'm like, I'm not going to need it, you know. And I'm playing against Seth. We're in the hotel playtesting, and he has, I think this exact line. No, he played Flame War over Skydive. And just seeing it in action, I think a lot of times I need to see it in action. I wasn't thinking about just, well, at least playing one range character. So I get to the event Sunday morning and ask George if he happened to potentially have one. I figured he has a lot of product. He's selling all these, you know, cards and singles from all these different games. I'm like, he potentially may have one. He actually just ended up buying a collection from someone, lucked up, and there just happened to be a Red Alert in there. So the Red Alert was meant for me. So I asked him if I can borrow it. He actually was nice enough to just let me have it. I was like, well, you know what? If you let me have it, I need a Sharpie. You need to sign this. I was like, this is a Machado Red Alert. So I definitely got to have you sign it. So he's the reason why I won. Shout out to George again, man. But yeah, so Red Alert is just simply in here because he's ranged on both sides. You don't flip him till late game unless he's going to die. You know, if he's about to die, and he's in there for the marksmanships and hovercraft I do play in here. And without further ado, let's just talk quickly about the side deck character, General Optimus. I used General Optimus a couple of times throughout the tournament. One of the main games I used it in against was against the card deck that I played round 3, which if you didn't see it on stream, if you replay PPGs VOD, you can check all the matches, every single feature match that were on there. But I was on the feature piloting 2-wide. I sided into 2-wide versus her card deck. It was like a 4-wide card deck, and then she sided into a 3-wide card deck. But either way, those wide decks like that, especially like Aerial Bots or whatever, which is another deck that I sided into 2-tall against, helped a lot against those decks. Now, actually, on the contrary, when I sided into Aerial Bots, when I sided into 2-tall game 2 against the Aerial Bot player, I won that game. I lost game 1 and then I won game 2, but it was really slow. And like, I noticed that I was able to literally take their whole hand when I went 3-wide to leave them to top deck mode to find that Enigma. But when I went too wide, of course, I kind of like lost the urge to want to flip and like kind of control their hand as much. So he was able to combine a lot easier. But at the same time, on the contrary, I was able to hit a lot harder. So the Superior had a lot more damage on it by the time, everything was said and done. I ended up winning that game. And then game 3, we couldn't squeak it out, unfortunately, because we ended up going to time. Blue versus blue matchup. Nobody was really slow playing. It's just how blue matchups go, because there were some turns where you barely, deal any damage. And, this is what it is. So I'm underestimating Area Bots too, because people still keep bringing that deck to tournaments. Not saying it sucks, but I just underestimate its representation. So I gotta really, I guess, go back to those photon bombs and stuff. And then we got these other 4 wide decks and stuff, 5 wide decks coming out. All those different patrol decks. If any of those happen to be good, cards like Squish Them Like Bugs, Armed Hovercraft, Photon Bomb, all those cards become infinitely better. So yeah, so I sided into this, not against Bugs. I would side against this, potentially against the Blaster deck. If the Blaster deck did side deck, if they didn't side in General Optimus, depending on what game it was too, if they didn't side General Optimus, I could potentially go into 2 wide. So round 1, again, I played the a mirror match against Seth. Round 2, I played against the Anticipation card deck. Round 3, I played against the the girl playing cars. And then round 4, I played against Area Bots. I got a tie against Area Bots. And round 5, I played against Blaster. Now, top 8 wasn't on stream, but top 8 I did play against the Anticipation cards deck again, the guy that I played in the Swiss rounds and lost to, round 2. And I won the dice roll, so that helped a lot. And sure enough, just like I was saying, it was able to hide Shockwave, etc. And so that helped out. We ended up going to game 3, but in game 3, like I said, being able to go first kind of helped seal the deal and get Shockwave set up and go from there. And then round 4, top 4, I played against Mr. The man himself, Cameron from Arbitrary Hero. Again, shout out to him and his channel. Very cool guy. Our top 4 was laid back. We were pretty laid back and pretty friendly about the whole thing. Although, still, making our moves, doing our thing. That's on stream. You can definitely find that on stream. But you'll see us talking, but you'll hear music in the background. There were no microphones to pick up what we were saying throughout any of the rounds. But very cool guy, laid back. We took that to game 3, and but I ended up taking that. And then moving on to the finals against the homie Nick. Shout out to him and his Blaster deck. He was running through everybody all day. I had a couple of key plays that ended up helping me seal the deal. Like I had, my favorite play of the entire day was when we all stood up. He thought he was safe by sending in his ram horn that had 8 damage on it, and which means I would have to waste an attack with my lone Shockwave into it. And then he gets 2 attacks at least on my Blaster, because then his Blaster gets an attack into my tap Shockwave. Then we untap. I get an attack on his Blaster, but I wasn't going to kill it. And then his Blaster gets another attack on me, which will probably KO me at that point. And I actually had Underhanded Tactics. Underhanded Tactics was did what I really wanted it always to do. It KO'd his ram horn that was tapped, and I got the heal one down to 11, and then I was able to go actually kill Blaster right then and there and steal the game for game 1. So you can check that out, like I said, on the VOD. Hopefully I can find the link. If I can, I will post it down below. But without further ado, like I told you, there'll be timestamps. If you actually sat through this and listened to me talk, I applaud you, because y'all know I like to talk. All right, guys. So, of course, one of the best cards in the game. We got Security Checkpoint. This card is very good. This card is even more insane in this deck, because there are turns where you can Security Checkpoint them first and see what they, discard every card that they need to or whatever and have, and then flip Shockwave for your turn, and then on to alt mode and make them scrap whatever card they have in their hand. That was a key play that actually helped me win the finals as well. Game 2 against Nick, I ended up Security Checkpointing him. He had 3 cards in hand. He had to discard 2 cards, and then I flipped Shockwave and then stole his last card. So that took away a lot of his momentum. And I want to say that was after he worked overtime. So this card just directly countered the work overtime, and I happened to hit a whole bunch of upgrades in his hand. And then, like I said, steal the last card with Shockwave. So it's even more prevalent in this deck, and relevant in this deck, and I really liked it. You can either do it the other way around. You can flip Shockwave first and see if they discard an action. If they discard an action, there's potential higher chance that they may have upgrades in him. You'll probably play it that turn anyway, but next up, we have 3 UFO. Of course, this card's great. It's the best with Shockwave. We have another spaceship in the game, Alpha Trion, but flip-flopping him isn't really that good, because he lets you get an action back into your hand, and, you already use your action for the turn in this, so, you have to save it, blah, blah, blah. This card is nice because you're doing more. You're drawing a card, and you're drawing exactly what you want, because you're able to look at the top card of your deck at any time. And, of course, you're always disrupting your opponent by making them discard a card. So, I call it the Trinity. If you have Shockwave in bot mode, you And it's very simple. You have Shockwave in bot mode, you have UFO, and then let's say you like even have Gamma Launcher on the top of your deck. You play Gamma Launcher on the top of your deck, make him discard a card. You flip him, make them discard another card. Then you play UFO, make him discard a third card. And I call that a Trinity because that's the maximum you can discard from your opponent with, besides Checkpoint. I guess Checkpoint can discard more than that. But discarding that many cards from your opponent's hand can definitely put them behind. Next up, we have 3 the bigger they are. This card is iffy for me because the format and the meta is not really that blue right now. It's a lot of orange, and I feel like it's a card I want to side deck. But there were a lot of times, honestly, where Shockwave had one weapon on him, and then I would play this, and it was, excuse me, his Gamma Launcher and a Field Communicator, and this would put him at 12 all of a sudden, and 12 was that magic number to actually get rid of a character. There were times whenever all the bots stood, and I would save this in my hand for when all the bots stood to use Shock or a Skydive to send in on one of their, good characters or whatever to get a solid steal 4 damage and get in there. And but I don't know. This was supposed to be leaving the battle because I know the format was going to be the meta rather at the tournament or any tournament I went to was going to be heavy orange, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm still iffy about this card, but it did work. It did come up a couple times, and I'm glad I had it in my deck, so I can't say that I would cut it at this point. But I don't know. We'll see with Wave 4. That attack boost definitely did help more than the Pierce. But the Pierce was just there because it's relevant in terms of helping your little guys do damage, Red Alert and Skydive. Next up, we have Reclaim. This card is awesome. If you have this on top of your deck, you don't have to play any cards out of your hand that turn. You play this off the top while Shockwave's in bot mode, and then you play the Gamma Launcher, from stack it from your strike ball to the top of your deck, and then play the Gamma Launcher as well. It's just really insane. So just multiple ways to get that card, the Gamma Launcher, on Shockwave and discard cards from your opponent's hand. Very good card. Love this card. Got to play 3 of it. Next up, for last of my 3 ofs, there's a card that I actually, I had to play. I just had to play, and you guys know why. It's because of one card, Press the Advantage. Now, don't get me wrong, I would still use this on, any other card my opponent would play for that turn when I had it set to get value out of it. But the main reason was because of Press the Advantage. Now, it's still hard to find this card because it doesn't have a green icon, but you can see the top card of your deck at all times. So if you do have one on top of your deck, and Shockwave is in bot mode, you probably need to prioritize flipping and getting this card so you can set this the turn that Shockwave attacks. You're not going to use it on Red Alert. You're not going to set it with Skydive. You're going to set it only with Shockwave so they don't get a crazy grenade or, reckless charge / Press the Advantage turn on you and, get at you. This card was mandatory to play at 3, and I'm happy to say I don't have to play this card in my main deck at all anymore because, as you guys know, if you haven't heard now, I was going to talk about it at the end of the video, which I still am a little bit, but Press the Advantage is now banned as of November 8th when the new set, Siege War for Cybertron Part 2, Siege 2, comes out. So under a month now, finally, away. I can't wait. Really excited, getting more excited. But yeah, mainly this card, mainly for Press the Advantage. Card's annoying. I love Autobots, but that card's ridiculous and had to go. So, right move. Shout out to WTC. Next up, we have 2 Callous Leadership. This card was great all weekend. Whenever I saw one, I always tried to hold it as long as possible and use it at the opportune time. When my opponent focuses down my Shockwave, it was nice to get rid of their, to get rid of 5 damage on the Shockwave. And the ruling on this is also nice. It's just like Sludge. If your Skydive has 7 damage counters on it, Skydive only having 8 damage counters total, if he has, the 7 damage counters, you were able to move all 5 damage from Shockwave onto Skydive and overkill it, just like I said, like Sludge, and that's really nice. So seeing at least one of these per game, healing 5 is a lot. It's really nice. So after he takes a big press turn, healing that up and then playing Energy Pack or whatever definitely keeps him in the game and keeps you going. So just 2, and it's also a Decepticon card too, so you can play this off the top if you need to. Top of your deck is an extension of your hand, so very good. Next up, I played this tech card, Marksmanship. This card, of course, is in conjunction with Red Alert. And again, I'm playing Red Alert because, like I said, I saw Scott playing it with the range package, and then I saw Seth. Seth was my ultimate decision in switching to Red Alert in general and just playing that single card. I didn't play 3 because Red Alert survivability wasn't that great because I wasn't ultimately heavy blue, like, my 3-wide prime deck, but because I still had some orange in here, like you'll be seeing here in a minute. And I had a good bit of whites and stuff too. So if they target down Red Alert and they realize I'm playing these marksmanships and things like that, and I don't know if anybody really paid attention like that I was playing these cards, like, oh, let me get Red Alert out of there ASAP so it turns off his hovercrafts and marksmanships. But yeah, so, once Red Alert dies, can't use these cards anymore. So that's why I only played 2 of these. And then I got another card, the hovercraft. I'll show you here in a second. Next up, we had 2 burn cards. I want to say this is the MVP for me for the weekend. because solely of the finals, how it helped me get rid of that ram horn, heal 1, and then surprise attack the blaster and actually KO 2 bots in 1 turn. So that was really huge for me, and I'm glad that worked out. It's a Decepticon card as well. If you don't know what it does, it just deals 1 damage to an enemy, and if it's KO'd in this way, you heal 1 damage from your Decepticons. I only got the heal part once this tournament, and like I said, it was the finals, but still a good card, and I'm playing it at 2. Yeah. So next up for my last 2 one-ups, I have 1 Smelt. This card is always great early games, not really good against cards or decks that play like Field Communicator and stuff. But if you catch your opponent with like the first card they play, and it's something I actually need to get more accustomed to because I don't think about it. I haven't been thinking about it, and it's happened to me. It's like my first upgrade. If I have like Field Communicator, I'm hoping that the card on top is something I want to play potentially, because you potentially against another blue deck that usually always main one of these cards is play your Field Communicator or whatever first. So that way, when they play Smelt, you just get rid of Field Communicator, or probably actually you just get rid of this at that point, because who wants to get rid of a Field Com? Or like Arm Hovercraft. If I have Arm Hovercraft, I might potentially want to play that first and not my Gamma Launcher, because there's been a couple times where I'll play my Gamma Launcher as my first weapon or as my first upgrade, and then it'll get smelted, and I'm like, damn, that sucks, because, you know, I get to choose, but that's my only upgrade. And then at the same time, sometimes Gamma Launcher is your only upgrade, so it's whatever, there's nothing you can do about that. But early game, if you can catch someone off guard with a with one of these, like on their data bank, or, you know, they're trying to counter you or whatever, and, you know, get rid of one of their decent upgrades, like another early upgrade people like to play definitely is like Matrix of Leadership. So, yeah. And last but not least, to round out my 23, I want to say this is 23 cards, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22, yeah. My 23 actions is a scrounge. So with this card, this is nice to set up Shockwave, and that's really all it's mainly about. I rarely ever put it on another character. Well, I take that back. I will. There's a card in my a weapon that I will, you know, definitely attach to my Red Alert or even Shockwave or whoever, you know, given the opportunity and the situation to play the upgrade off top of my deck. But the main thing is to just get Shockwave set up as much as possible, so that way when he starts swinging and defending, that he's loaded up as much as possible, so he can have as much survivability as possible. And that rounds out the end of the rest of the weapons, of course, or the weapons, excuse me, the actions. Starting out with the weapons, we have 3 Gamma Launcher here. This card is very powerful. It's a Decepticon card. It's Shockwave's weapon. Got to play 3 of it. It's blue. Nothing more you can ask for. It's +2 weapon. You can fit 2 in the in his weapon slot, giving him a total of 11 base attack at that point. And when you play it on him, you get to scrap a card from your opponent. Very strong card. Next up, not too much to say about that. Solely playing this card for the icons. I may play this late game. You know, I always say this when I come to this card, whether it's Improvised Shield or this. There is a potential to play this card super late game to try to get that extra bold, to try to flip an orange if you needed that 1 more orange. And like, it's like, oh, if I don't flip this orange, I lose. But other than that, I will never equip this card, and I will try to get it cycled back into my deck as quick as possible for that defense, for those defense flips. And next up, the card I was talking about flipping off of Scrounge, is a Grenade Launcher. This card was really good all weekend. The whole point of this card is just to get your little guys to do something. And, you know, I remember Jamie from Power by Primus playing it. I think I forgot who else I saw playing it. And then I saw Dan from Vector Sigma, you know, with the specialist Shockwave version they have. So I had a lot of inspiration for playing this card. And I ended up playing it at 2 for space issues. I probably could have went up to 43 or 44, because, I mean, I'm already playing 42. And, you know, Brian had me telling me that 44 was fine for him. So, yeah, the 2 are fine. You know, even the orange icon, there were times in a past tournament where I would actually just play Reclaim to stack this just to get that extra orange, you know, just +1 attack. Reclaim reads this character gains +1 attack this turn, you know, but, yeah, you know, Grenade Launcher was great all weekend. There's times where I put it on Shockwave. There's times where all of our characters stand, and I'll have Field Communicator on Skydive, and all of a sudden I play this, and Skydive is swinging with 8, and then whatever oranges you flip off the top of your deck, you know, Skydive swinging for some big numbers already, so it's not expected from a blue deck, but you definitely need that factor with a deck like this, in this type of version to, you know, push some damage through. Otherwise, you know, you can't have Shockwave doing everything. And next up we have, for our 1-ofs, we have 1 Energon-Axe, 1 Enforcement Batons, and then 1 Arm Hovercraft. Now these 1-ofs, I don't really like too many of these in this deck. You know, you have 3, your primary weapon, Gamma Launcher. There will be times where you'll put this on Red Alert, like when he has, you know, a couple of health left, you'll flip him. All of a sudden he's at 8 attack and 8 with a like 8 with the bigger they are, and all of a sudden he's at 10 attack, you know, 10 pierce 6. So against a blue deck, he's getting it for some nice damage. Against an orange deck, he's definitely gonna get that surprise attack and potentially steal a KO. This card's good, you know, enforcement batons, because it helps against you know, these the Battle Master deck. So definitely good to have this card. And then just attack one of Armed Hovercraft, because the Red Alert, you know, is my only range character, and you know, once he dies, then I don't want that many other dead cards in my deck. It's bad enough if my Shockwave dies, just about the rest of my deck is dead. So, no, I'm joking. But, well, that's actually true. But, yeah, so just 2 Field Communicator, Jesus, 2 Marksmanship, and 1 Armed Hovercraft. And this Hovercraft worked out fine. There were times where I saw it on top of my deck. I would play Field Communicator, get it off the top to set up and get, you know, nice board presence and nice, you know, damage on their characters. And there would be times where I would play Scrounge and flip it. And I never play Reclaim to flip Shockwave to bot mode, or excuse me, to alt mode to draw this card to deal 1 damage each. It never came up. I never needed to, but that was an option. But yeah, so the 1-of was fine. And for my utilities, I play 3 Field Communicator. I have at least 2 specialists, so definitely want to play 3 of these. With the deck I plan on playing with Shockwave, I'm only going to have 1 specialist, so I'll probably end up cutting down to 1, maybe even 2. We'll see. But yeah, 3 Field Communicator definitely still helps you, you know, if you don't have a Decepticon / secret action, you know, card to play on top of your deck. With Shockwave's ability, playing any other card off top of your deck, grenade launcher, you know, bigger they are, UFO, whatever, is really nice. And, you know, to help extend your plays, and that +1 attack is always nice. And for my other utility, I play Energy Pack. This 1 Energy Pack saved me so many times. There will be a lot of times where I have Reclaim in my hand, and I would actually shy away from the normal get Gamma Launcher, play Gamma Launcher on top of your deck, and I would save it specifically for when I didn't have this in my hand, you know, it was in my scrap pile, and I would play Reclaim when Shockwave was in bot mode to, you know, reclaim this on top of the deck and then flip him the alt mode and then draw this and then equip it, and all of a sudden, you know, he has more survivability. So very simple play, but very effective play, and the 1 Energy Pack definitely helped out a lot. And for my armors, to last but not least, we had 2 Sturdy Armor. Again, I have at least 2 specialists. There were a couple of times where I actually did equip this on Skydive to help out, and range characters are some of the most popular in the game, so getting that extra defense when you equip Sturdy Armor is very good, and of course it's an orange-green, so gotta play it. And then for my other rock, paper, scissors armor, I played Reflex Circuits. I may have equipped it this 1 time, the entire tournament, on Red Alert, and that's because I had another upgrade that I didn't want to play at the time. Like, then that's another thing I want to talk about in a future video. I'll just show it now. Like, I think it was the play where I had sparring gear, and I wanted to not play. If I played the sparring gear that turn, that gave him potential to bash and shield on his turn that he wasn't attacking Shockwave. So I put the Reflex Circuits to kind of diverge on Red Alert. And I'm like, well, if he uses Bash and Shield on Red Alert's, you know, circuits, I'm fine with that. And, you know, whatever. But I think the next turn, I think I had Security Checkpoint, which I stole his Bash and Shield at that point. And then I played the Sparring Gear, which is super powerful because now he didn't have anything, you know, to get rid of my, he didn't have an answer to my Sparring Gear, and then my defense stuck, and Shockwave definitely lived that battle with no problem. But yeah, so this is a good, you know, the melee, range and melee characters are some of the most popular in the game, with specialists definitely being a 3rd slot after that. Was the 3rd slot. But yeah, it didn't really come up to make me want to equip this on him. So this could have been cut. This actually used to be in the side deck when, you know, I definitely sided in General Prime, because I definitely, so if this wasn't in the main, it would still go back to the side. But in the main deck, it was to help with space in the side deck, and it just really didn't actually do anything for me in the tournament. So I'm not going to say it's bad, but this tournament, like, I just didn't have time to want to put it on Red Alert because I was loading up Shockwave. So that's it for the main deck. Like I said, 42 cards. And moving on to the side deck real quick, run through it. So this deck, this side deck actually ended up turning into a transitional side deck, because there were a lot of games where I sided in 9 cards. Yeah, 9 cards. Like, I'm like, Jesus, what's this 10th card doing, and I can't make a, you know, entire train. But it pretty much is transitional. But yeah, so I ended up side decking 2 Battlefield Report, and the only theory I had was that with this is if I play against another Shockwave deck, or I play against a blue deck in general, to side out have something to side out the infiltrates for. If I had space for a 3rd one, I probably would have sided the 3rd one. And this is just so Shockwave still has his ability to be able to play cards off the top. Taking out the infiltrates to put in like 3 other secret action / Decepticon cards would weaken his effect, and you already only have like 13 cards total in the deck, that which is a little over a 4th of the deck, so it's not bad. Well, I guess actually it is a 4th. You know, I'm playing 42 cards, but yeah. So that's all it really was, you know, just to help kind of like fix your hands. This card was always good to fix your hands and, you know, get rid of what you need and then, you know, go from there. So that's the only reason. So I mean, but I actually, when I sided this in, I actually sided these in a good bit because, you know, I played against, you know, some blue decks and things like that. So these cards actually help. You know, again, decks that don't play orange actions, you know, side out the infiltrates for. And next up, a card that I played two of that I wasn't playing before. It was like one Energon Axe. So when I go to 2 tall, I would side in the second Energon Axe, but it was, you know, this the second best weapon in the game, Ion Blaster of Optimus Prime. Of course, the first weapon being a grenade launcher, but, well, I guess it's debatable, right? Because this card is really good. Anytime you have this card in your hand and you put it on Optimus, you always feel good. Honestly, I'll go as far as saying I don't care what Optimus you put it on. You're always happy to play this card because +2/+1 is just really good. Of course, it can only go on Optimus, but it feels good to always play it, especially in this deck. You don't really flip when you go 2 tall. Honestly, Shockwave's doing a lot of the work, and he kind of just soaks up damage for you anyway. You don't actually care about Shockwave at this point. Your ender is actually General Optimus Prime. So once you can find one of these, or if you have Reclaim and you have him in bottom mode, because like I said, you don't flip him. Like your opening turn when you go into 2 tall is to flip Shockwave and attack with Shockwave. So if you have Reclaim and this card is in your scrap pile, I will most likely prioritize getting this over Gamma Launcher from the scrap pile with Reclaim. That's how much I care about this card to put on him to get him set up. And then it's a weapon. So while they're focusing on Shockwave, then I got him. And then towards the end of the game, now I flip him, and now he's a 8/3, and now he's doing serious work. And then here, if he does, you know, find the Ion Blaster, he's a 6/4. So it's kind of insane, like, you know, towards the mid and late game, how beefy the Prime can get. And then he usually ends most games for me because, and I say my opponents focus on Shockwave, but they kind of have to. They kind of can't just leave Shockwave there because you really don't want Shockwave to be their last character they have to face down either, because putting 2 Gamma Launchers on him and, you know, having him all loaded up is just as scary as it was, you know, with 3 wide. But so this was nice to always have. Of course, only obviously sided these in when I sided in General Prime. Next up, a card that helped me a lot in a good bit of my matchups, and a card that I think is going to see a lot of play coming up in the format soon is the new format coming up is Vaporize. This card was very good to get rid of my opponents, you know, Gamma Launchers, their energy pack, which is very important. I think I sided in against like Blaster because the what you call it? The dual cannon, Fire Drive's dual cannon was easy to kill. So once it was easy to kill, it would go on Blaster, and it would actually take a while to kill. Okay, I want to say take a while to kill. And they would put the dual cannon on Blaster, and it would be a while before the Blaster attacked. So by the time the Blaster went to attack, playing the Vaporize on their weapon would kind of leave Blaster naked, and then, you know, they had to have a static laser or grenade launcher or whatever to load him up again. And if they didn't, Blaster's attack was weak, even if Steeljaw was out with the extra bolt. But this card was definitely good versus blue matchups. This card's only going to get better. Equipments like utilities and things get more important coming up soon. So definitely beware of cards like these. Ramming speed, even potentially dismantle. I don't know. But and disarm. Well, I guess I kind of spoiled it. But I mean, yeah, I also sided a disarm. Let's talk about it now. Yeah, so yeah, these cards are just very good. I think I used this one time on a fully loaded Shockwave. He had 2 Gamma Launcher. I think I used it on Seth. He had a fully loaded guy with I think a sparring gear, field communicator, and 2 Gamma Launchers. And when I bounced everything back to his hand, I got a big attack on it that put me ahead. And then when he had to play his upgrades again, it's like, well, yes, you make me discard a card out of my hand with Gamma Launcher, but you kind of already make me discard 1 to 2 cards anyway every turn. So, and I kind of gain him back with, you know, countering you with my Shockwave by drawing cards as well. So I'm never out of cards totally. But, you know, bouncing all this stuff back, it's like, what are you going to prioritize? Are you going to play this armor this turn and attack, you know, and swing with him with only 7 attack? Well, I won't say only 7 attack. I want to say only 7 attack because, of course, that's still a lot. But, yeah, he had to prioritize and play his cards differently at that point because, you know, it was later game and, you know, my Shockwave was loaded. And it's like, well, what are you going to do versus my loaded Shockwave type thing? And, you know, depending on if you didn't put the sparring gear on, but you prioritized the weapons just to get a bigger attack. Well, when I attack you back, like if you don't kill me, then, you know, your Shockwave's in danger of dying or whatever. So this card just in general is going to be very good against like the big Optimus, the newest General Prime in Wave 4. This card's going to be good against Shockwave. This card's going to be good against any deck that's playing the overwhelming advantage package, you know, because they have to load up their character with all 5, you know, the rainbow type of, you know, for all the upgrades. So bouncing all those decks, all those back, excuse me, really set them back. So I think this card is going to see very heavy play in the upcoming format. So beware of these. Get you a couple of disarms out of your, dust them off, dust them off out of your wave 1 boxes, and definitely vaporize and potentially even ramming speed. Are going to see very heavy play between the main and especially side deck, at least for me anyway. So definitely keep in mind for that. Eye out for that, rather. Disarming a General Prime, the big one, when he has 2 energy packs, your opponent's feeling good, and then you're like, finally, disarm. You disarm all that stuff back, and this will actually potentially KO him too, because depending on how much damage you put on Optimus Prime, you could potentially hold this card and set it up to where you get their Big Optimus in the range of where their energy pack is the only reason why they're still alive. Like, so General Prime has, what, 21 health? They have 2 energy packs on it, so he has 29. And you get 22 damage counters on it. You play this card, the game's over pretty much, because now Big Prime falls. The bigger they are, the harder they fall, right? So, next up we have 2 W5 Jar Blaster. This card did not help that much this weekend. I was expecting, a lot of... I really didn't decide against Blaster. I probably should have, but I think I might have decided one game. But like next I play a lot of tough, or like the Shockwave version that I played round 1. He played, Flame War and then like Sparring Gears and things like that. So this card really helped against his version. I remember back in Gen Con, this card helped a lot as well versus another, like the General Megatron deck and all those decks that have super heavy tough. So this card is always great. You manipulate it, sometimes you play, your energy pack, or you play this when you need to, and it can really help you swing some games and slow your opponent down, or get some solid damage in through tough decks. And I think I sided it in against the Anticipation Cards deck as well. Getting tired, sorry, so I'm starting all over the place. But the Anticipation card deck, I sided in against him too, but I did not see it. He played like Supercharge. He used Prowl's effect a lot. And, having this card on the field will cause him to it kind of messes up his flip sequencing, in terms of, wanting to use Bold, because we can each only flip 2 cards. And then last but not least, most of the time against, especially if I went too tall, but even like against the mirror match or against Blaster and things like that, I really wanted to see one of these throughout the game, so I decided the second one. And that's really it. So, of Energy Pack, if you guys can still see that, right? Yeah, you can still see that. Okay. So that was pretty much it for the deck profile. There's anything else to say about that? Yeah, I think we're good. All right, guys. So I just want to talk about Press the Advantage for a second, and it's banning having a very big impact on the meta game to come. Now, Shockwave was already meta. Now, there's been tournaments where because I've been seeing a lot of people talking about how, like a smaller event, and not even just this event, and past events as well. Like, people got to remember that this game is young still. So a small event with 10 people, 15 people, 20 people is still a lot. It's a lot for this game. I've been to tournaments, Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments with 2,000 people. So of course that's a lot, but that game has also been around forever. Now Transformers, the entity and the, the company has been around for 30 plus years, but the card game, this version of the card game anyway, because I think it was another card game in the past, is very early in it. So the metagame is definitely influenced by, people are influenced by everybody else topping, and what they see online, and they see Shockwave topping, they see Blaster topping, so Blaster, Shockwave, Bugs, even though I don't see people play Bugs as much anymore, any type of General Prime variant, those decks are all considered meta. I think a lot of what the issue is with within the community is meta, like it's meta, like as in it's the only thing, like it's dominating the meta on its own, or a part of the meta. And the way I usually use it is it's part of the meta. So when I say Shockwave is meta, he's not like the only character to worry about. He's just part of the meta now. He's with the meta. He's not like dominating. And I wouldn't even say, honestly, Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend dominated like that either. His effect was ridiculous, but so is Kickback. And there's always that thing with me versus, well, I hate Kickback. And people say, well, don't act like Optimus Prime is not, ridiculous. Okay, yeah, you got me. And I probably bias a little bit because this Kickback's just ridiculous. And he's a 5-drop that can get to 15. But okay, that's a, how I feel about. I'll stop. So, but yeah, so I just feel like 19 people at an event, especially with 2 weeks notice, is very good. And I don't think it took 50 people all of a sudden for Shockwave to need to win to say that it's meta. So everybody's going to have their opinion, and that's fine, having your opinion. But I also have my opinion too. And my opinion is it's been more than one event. It's been like 2, 3, 4, maybe like 5 events I can think of off the top of my head. 2 or 3 or 4 actually, which I've been involved in, where Shockwave has had a presence. Shockwave is meta in the sense where you need to expect it and you need to potentially side deck against it, system reboot, work overtime, whatever else, you know, ramming speeds to get rid of the energy pack is actually there to actually potentially warp the meta in a sense where you actually need to prepare for it. I'd say that's what you call meta. So everybody has their own opinions of what meta is, and that's fine. But, you know, like I said, my opinion of it is it's something to prepare for, and it's damn sure something to prepare for now, because you know what? Shockwave was able to take a press turn, maybe not crazy ass press turns like Brad did to me. Shout out to Brad. But it was able to take a press turn and survive, and then set up to the point where it could play Callous Leadership to brush off 5 damage, and then play Energy Pack to live. Well, now there's no more press. So now when you get your damage in, well, okay, now I expect to have more health now. That's all it really is to it. So Shockwave just gets better. So prepare for it. Realize it's part of the meta now. Get you one before the price spikes. Sorry. I don't think it's going to be that serious, though. They're like 70 now. Weren't they 70 before? It shouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, Shockwave is definitely meta. It's part of the meta. And Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend isn't part of the meta. Like I said, even when he was meta or, you know, whatever, he never dominated anyway. The Fire Wheels deck, you know, usually just ate those decks alive. And then I guess it was really Flame War and then, not Flame War, the other bike, RC and, you know, Wheeljack, you know, but just in general, you saw what that deck was doing at Origins, and, you know, I didn't want to play against it. I'm not trying to deal with RC, so thank God Dan took it out. Shout out to Dan. But, yeah, so meta. Shockwave's meta, and it damn sure, like I said, it's about to be a serious part of the meta now. People need to prepare for it. Prepare for any blue Decepticon deck. Prepare for blue decks in general. Blue just got so much better. And, you know, I'm excited for that because I'm a blue player at heart. Every time I put together an orange deck, I always feel weird playing it, to be honest with you. But, yeah. So that's it. I won PPG Columbus. Columbus must be my spot. Ohio in general. Quick fun fact, my very first top in a tournament ever was in Columbus, Ohio for Yu-Gi-Oh! And I top 16 at that tournament. That was my first big premier event top ever that put me on the map to start, you know, getting in my serious competitive play. So just Ohio is just my spot. That's just a spot where I guess feel most comfortable and, you know, I do my thing. So, but yeah, shout out again to PPG for the event. Shout out to WOTC, especially for allowing the event and backing it and being cool with it. The finals, I was told, will be on stream, or not on stream, excuse me, that was streamed, will be on PPG's page soon. So I will put a link in the description to their channel. Definitely go subscribe to them. Subscribe to me if you guys like my content. I really appreciate it. Leave this video a thumbs up if you like the content, and expect more from me soon. We have little less than a month for, I think I want to try to get the top deck games this weekend, but I may not make it. I won't be traveling to like Las Vegas or Dallas for those PPG events. But keep in mind, and if you like looking at streams of matches, definitely keep a lookout for the PPG event in Dallas, because that will be the first tournament. That's a very important tournament. That's the first step into wave 4, because so that'll kind of potentially, not kind of, it will manipulate even some of my decisions depending on what I see there at that tournament leading into PAX Unplugged, the EIQ in early December. So with that, I'll leave you guys with that. Again, if you like this video, leave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you like my content. Click that notification bell next to the subscribe channel, or excuse me, to the subscribe button. So as soon as I post a video, when you see that, it'll be on your phone notification. And rock out with me. I appreciate you guys being here with me this time, or at this time rather. And videos an hour long. I'm going to stop talking. But as usual, you know what it is. You guys and gals have a great day and or a great night whenever you're catching this video. This is S. of DefTF heading out. Peace.